where ideas take shape, thoughts find up, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. He is a speaker, coach, as well as best-selling author and the author of the book The Practice of Feeling Good. No other than Mr. Fletcher Ellingson.
Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Mr. Fletcher. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, like you said, I am a speaker, coach, and an author. And what I do is I help people change the way they think in order to produce outstanding outcomes in their health, their wealth, and their relationships.
And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world.
You bet, man.
And today, let's talk about the practice of feeling good. Tell us, Mr. Fletcher, the title frames feeling good as a practice, not a destination. What is the daily practice actually look like,
Y-
especially on days when you feel at least motivated to do it?
Yeah. Yeah. So, Daniel, for most of my life, I was masterfully practiced at not feeling good. I was
Mhm.
masterfully practiced at feeling judgmental, upset, angry, disappointed, uh, on anxious, frustrated. And I believe that many of us go through life feeling that way. That's not to say we don't have moments of feeling good or happiness, but in large part, people really feel a lot of emotions that don't feel good. And I believe that we go through life feeling that way because we are practiced at it. The oldest saying that it takes about 10,000 hours of practice to become a master.
Yes.
Well, I've got my 10,000 hours in for feeling terrible. And so my brain was had all these programs built around that. So it came easily to it. I didn't have to even try to feel upset or anxious or insecure. My brain knew how to do that and it would just automatically do it. So the practice of feeling good is
Mm.
different. The practice requires deliberation, it requires intentionality in order. And when I say good, Daniel, I don't just mean happy. In fact, I hardly ever use that word. I enjoy feeling happy, but when I say the practice of feeling good, what I mean is the practice of feeling connected, confident, um, uh, open, willing, grateful, courageous, right? There's
Yes.
lots of ways of feeling good. You know what I mean by that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But so many of us feel like our emotions just kind of descend down upon us without our permission, consent, or approval. Sometimes we wake up in a funk and we go to work and someone's like, "Hey, what's up? What's going on for you?" And like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm just in a funk." "Oh, what happened?" "I don't know. I just woke up in a funk." "Oh, is there anything I can do?" "No, it'll pass." And later it does pass. But it's like we have to wait for these emotions to descend and ascend. But what I want to ask people is, what if it were possible to feel good on demand, to feel connected on demand, to feel happy on demand, to feel open, willing, to feel safe, to feel confident on demand? Wouldn't that be incredible?
Indeed, that would be great and incredible.
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher, you talk about upgrading your thinking. What is the
Yes.
most common outdated software or default thinking pattern that you see holding people back from feeling good?
Yeah. Okay. I love that question. And you nailed it. We are nothing but software up in the brain, just like our iPhone or our Android phone. You know how it has applications, right? And operating software. We do. That's all we've got up here. It's an operating system. But our phones, we we plug those in at night and make sure that we get the upgrade, don't we? Right? Because we want the latest and greatest. But when's the last time that we actually said to ourselves, "Oh my gosh, Daniel, I got to upgrade the programming between my ears. I got to upgrade that program of fear that's holding me back. I got to upgrade, because to your question, what's holding people back? Fear, insecurity, self doubt, right? So those are some big ones. Judgment. Those are all things that hold us back. And fear is probably the biggest one. We do not like to live in fear. And so if we can understand how to navigate fear more powerfully, then we have greater access to freedom. And I don't know about you, but I love it when I have a breakthrough and I feel free. You know what I'm talking about?
Indeed, Mr. Fletcher. Many people believe that feeling good is a result of external circumstances, a great
Mm.
job, perfect relationship. How does your book argue that it's actually an inside job?
Thank you for asking this question. Yes, we are always seeking the external to produce an internal feeling, which becomes exhausting and frustrating.
Hmm.
Let me give you an analogy or an
Go ahead,
example, okay?
please.
Pretend that you are going to a movie, and maybe this is a movie you've been really looking to see, and you want to see it on the big screen because let's say it's Mission Impossible. Let's say it's an action movie, okay? Just for the sake of example. Well,
Okay.
you've been waiting to go to this. You get your popcorn, you get your soda or whatever you're going to drink, and you find your seat, and the lights come up, and the movie starts, and it starts with a bang. I mean, it's a high intensity chase scene, action sequence. There's cars, there's guns, there's people running, it's really intense. Well, at that moment, your eyes are glued to the screen. You're not even eating your popcorn right now because you're not even moving. In fact, if you were hooked up to a heart rate monitor, the heart rate monitor would show that your heart rate is actually beating a lot faster than it normally would. Okay. Now, then go a few minutes into that scene, it subsides, it calms down. Now you relax back into your seat. You start eating your popcorn, and maybe there's something funny that happens and you laugh, right? And then maybe there's a little bit later, there's a romantic part and you kind of feel all swoony, right? And then maybe there's something that happens suddenly and catches you off guard, and like boom, you're frightened again. And in that 2-hour movie, you're going through a roller coaster of emotions. In fact, perhaps maybe more emotions and a greater breadth of emotions than you would normally in your entire day or week. But here's what I'm getting at, Daniel. The reason you were having those emotions was because of what you were focused on. And what you were focused on was nothing more than light being broadcast on a screen. It was not real. There was sound, there was light, and you were in this situation, but your brain, your emotions were responding to where you put your focus. So the brain can't tell the difference between what is real and what is not real. It it must create an emotion based on where you are putting your focus. And that is the key. So it's not the external home, the job, the relationship. Those are all great. I'm not saying we don't want those. But when we realize it's the story that we're focused on, that's what creates our emotional experiences. So that's why when we learn to create stories about our life, about people that are empowering, that feel good, we will have a corresponding emotional experience to that story. Isn't that wild?
Very wild. Mr. Fletcher, totally wild. The mechanics of feeling good. Can you walk us through what happens in our brain and body when actively engaged in a feel good practice? Are we literally rewiring our neural pathways?
Mm, yeah, great question. So Uh, we can. Most of the time, we're not, right? So, like for instance, if we're watching a funny movie, or we're having, playing a game, a board game with a bunch of friends, we're laughing and joking, and we're feeling really good. We're feeling happy. We're not rewinding or anything there. We're just experiencing emotions, and an emotion is simply a chemical reaction, right? It is you're getting that dopamine, you're getting that oxytocin, you're getting that serotonin, you're getting that adrenaline. um, an emotion is simply a chemical reaction that we're experiencing, and as it floods our nervous system. Now, we can rewire parts of the brain. We can create new programming applications, if you will. We can create those new applications in our head if we intentionally practice a particular story. I'll give you an example. A lot of my clients deal with insecurity and fear. So one of the ways we rewire their brain is we get them to write these incantations. For instance, I'm resourceful, capable, and flexible. Okay, and because if I am resourceful, capable, and flexible, there's nothing in life I can't do. But there's an existing program in most people's brain that says I don't have what it takes. I'll probably fail. It probably won't work out. I'm not good enough. Right there a lot of that programming. So just saying an affirmation once, it's not going to do anything. But if we say that affirmation repeatedly, multiple times a day for months on end, and you also practice visualization, because remember, the brain cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's not. That's why you can have nightmares, and you can have experience terrible emotions based on that nightmare, or you can have wonderful dreams and have that corresponding wonderful emotion. So bring the emotional and the visualization to the affirmation, and we do it with intensity, that is what triggers this thing called neuroplasticity, right? That's one of the things that triggers the neuroplasticity, which is the brain adapting, the brain changing. And you do that long enough, and pretty soon, now you created a second program in the brain about that subject. And now here's where it gets incredibly magical, Daniel. Now the brain has a choice between two programs that it can run about that specific topic. See, until we make another program in the brain can only run that single program. And if it's a disempowering program, well, then you're going to continually live out of that disempowerment. But if you set up a new program that is based in empowerment, that I'm resourceful, capable, flexible, that yes, I can navigate through hard times, good things are lined up, stacked up. If we practice that and practice that, it becomes a program, and now the brain can actually begin to run that program. And this is where people start having breakthroughs in the outcomes that they're producing.
The outcome. I like that. The outcome. Mr. Fletcher, so how do you differentiate the kind of feeling good you advocate from simply avoiding negative emotions or toxic positivity?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. Yeah. 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 So the negative and disempowering emotions, um, they're going to show up without your permission, consent, or approval, because you've got programs in there. Okay. Now, first of all, there's nothing wrong with them. One of the things, if you when people work with me, they realize that I throw out all those labels. We're not talking. There's no good, bad, right, or wrong when it comes to emotions or or thoughts. They're just thoughts, they're just emotions, but they all have a message. And that's what we want to pay attention to. What's the message of my fear? Fear is not bad. The message of fear is, hey, Fletcher, pay attention. You might be in danger here. Okay. So fear, there's nothing wrong with it. We want fear. We need fear. It's helping to protect us. Right. So we just want to get curious, like, is the message of that emotion accurate? Am I actually in danger? Or is it just worried that I'm going to make a fool of myself, which is that's not really, I'm not in danger. And if I'm resourceful, capable, flexible, I can navigate whatever I'm going to go through. So it's not negative or positive emotions, and I know we use that language so we can differentiate. But what we want to do is practice getting curious about the emotion, and then we ask this really important question: what's the story at the core of my emotion? Because every emotion at the very core of it has a story. Remember the core story of fear is, hey, you're in danger. That's a story. Fletcher, you're in danger. Pay attention. Okay. Is the
Mm-hmm.
story accurate? So jealousy, for instance, at the core of jealousy is a story. They don't like me anymore. I'm not good enough for them. They're leaving me. They're abandoning me. That's all in the realm of story. Okay. And so what we want to get is, we want to ask, what's the story? And is that story accurate?
Mr. Fletcher, as a speaker, coach, and best-selling author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Hmm. So, Daniel, who I am is a clearing for people to feel safe, heard, and empowered. And one of my own practices is to simply live that. Do I want to make money? Yes, obviously I want to make money, right? But I've shifted my I've shifted many of my goals to simply being okay with how life is unfolding. This is the biggest spiritual challenge, as far as I'm concerned, and that's what I'm working on. Do I have aspirations? Sure, I'm going to write this second book that I was talking to you about before we started the show. I plan on doing a lot more speaking, more seminars, all of that. But my biggest thing is, I want to be a clearing for people to feel safe, heard, and empowered. That means if they get in my sphere of influence, if they get around me, they're going to feel safe, heard, and empowered. Something in their life is going to shift. And that's the most exciting thing to me. Transformation, growth, progress. When That's the most exciting thing for me, is when people have a shift in their mindset that allows for a different outcome. That's beautiful to me.
Beautiful indeed. Good luck to you goals, Mr. Fletcher, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
You know what? Here's my bit of advice: be a source of kindness, focus on being a source of contribution. You do have something to offer this world. And more than ever, we need kindness. Kindness unites instead of dividing. It fosters healing instead of injuring. And kindness, it it it's a what's beautiful about kindness is it reminds people of their strengths instead of reminding them of their weaknesses. It unites people, and it feels good to give it, and it feels good to receive it. So be a source of kindness and contribution.
Kindness indeed. People spread kindness,
Yes.
please. And thank you for that advice, Mr. Fletcher. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yeah, I can. I would like to recommend to you, um, oh, what's it called? It's one of my good friends' books. Just a second, it's out the tip of my tongue. Uh, Gosh, Build a Better Now. Look up Greg Binnick, Build a
Mm.
Better Now. Um, Hold on just one second. I gotta look it up here because I want to give you the right. Build a Better Now. Greg Binnick. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Building a Better Now with Greg Binnick. Sorry, it's called Reclaim the Moment. Uh, Reclaim the Moment. 7 strategies to build a better now. It's a wonderful book. I highly recommend it. Greg is an incredible speaker, hilarious, multi-talented, and just super practical and applicable stuff. So look up that book. And then the second one I would refer you to is the War of Art
Yes.
by Stephen Pressfield.
Thank you for that recommended books, Mr. Fletcher. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please to listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in 5th season, abstract poetry in 2nd season, and my book 101 review in 5th season too. Comedy 101 in 2nd season, and my food 101 in 5th season as well. Geography 101 in 4th season, and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101, Love Letters in 3rd season, and Movie 101 review, Music 101 in 4th season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its 1st season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Fletcher, this is a practice of feeling good. How do you personally practice what you preach, and what's one way you still have to consciously work at it?
Mm, okay. I love this question. Yeah, because what we want to do is we want to get to the practicality of this, right?
Yes.
How do I apply it? How do I implement it? So one of the things that my wife and I do, we are huge fans of gratitude. And because what I love about gratitude, Daniel, is gratitude is the appreciation and acknowledgement of something for which you cannot take credit. Okay. It
Yes.
it kills the ego. I can't take credit for it, but
Yes.
I'm acknowledging it and appreciating. So we spend we have a regular practice of doing lists of gratitudes, and we do it like, for instance, when we go on a drive, where I live, the nearest city is about 45 minutes away. So we'll frequently go down to that city, and on the way down, we'll frequently say like, "Hey, let's do a round of gratitudes," and she'll just start rattling off gratitudes, things for which she's grateful, and I just listen until she's done. And when you listen to someone else listing off gratitudes, it's beautiful. It feels good, and it reminds you of lots of other stuff that you're grateful for. And then I take a turn. Now, remember, what you focus on, you feel. So by the time we're done doing a list of gratitudes, we feel great. We
Mm.
feel super grateful. We feel like, man, life is good. And I'll tell you, this is something that I still have to practice. I have to make myself do it sometimes. The other day, I was actually in a really bad mood. I was really disappointed about a lot of stuff that's going on in the world today. And my wife said, "Babe, we got to do some gratitudes." And I was like, "Babe, I don't feel like it." And she said, "I know. That's why you have to do it. I'm holding you accountable." So she said, "Just do a few." And once I started doing a few, then I would think of another one and another one, and then I've rattled off, 15 or 20 things. And it shifted my attitude, because you can't feel grateful for something and upset at the same time.
In the Dr. Mr. Fletcher, so to sum up our last question, ultimately, what is the feel good life really about? Is it a life free of problems, or a life with a fundamentally different and more resilient relationship to problems?
Exactly that. Yeah. So there are still challenges. There are still problems. There are still, uh, you know, things where you're going to get, really pushed on and tested and triggered, all of that's still going to happen. The difference is we don't stay in the suffering mindset nearly as long, and we navigate through the challenges much faster. We navigate them with less intensity, and the duration is less. It's all about noticing when you go into suffering and having the tools to exit that suffering much faster and get back to a feel good state of mind.
I feel good, Mr. Fletcher. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Hoping for more and more empowering books like this to come. Can you
Right on.
please invite our listeners to support your book, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, grab a copy of my book on Amazon, The Practice of Feeling Good. Visit me at FletcherEllingson.com, and I look forward to connecting with you all.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Fletcher Ellingson because if you support him, for sure, as I said, more and more empowering books like this to come. And looking forward for your second book, Mr. Fletcher. Please do come over and let's talk about it.
Right on. Thank you, Daniel.
You are most welcome. And people, let's support Mr. Fletcher. So, Mr. Fletcher, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Monica, people, see you soon.